Welcome to WiseTake.com. This is CK013 bringing you another NBA DFS podcast. It's Friday, January 6th, 2017. We've got a nice juicy 8-game slate following up last night's 8-game slate. I like these larger slates. You got more options. The chalky guys are less chalky, easier to find value. And I like to do a balanced approach, and that's a lot easier on large game slates. Sometimes it's impossible on those smaller slates. Last night we saw James Harden and Russell Westbrook headline the DFS world. Harden appeared to be in the better spot. However, it was Westbrook who dominated and stole the show. I did recommend Lowry and DeRozan even in cash games, and I did realize that was kind of a hot take. I got some flack for that, but they did well. Lowry scored 50 plus, and DeRozan fell just short of 40. I mentioned to play those two together if you wanted to fade Harden. And I think that that was okay. I don't think it was so bad. DeRozan was significantly cheaper than Harden, and he still put up just under 40 on FanDuel, while Harden only put up 51. So I think that was fair. Anyway, let's move on to today's slate. We've got Minnesota at Washington. Total of 212. Washington minus 5. Mahamini is still out. Other than that, there's no new injuries. John Wall's pretty expensive here, but he's in a great spot versus Rubio. He's got mega upside. Wouldn't put him in cash because he's shown that variance. I don't know if he's not necessarily guaranteed to hit that kind of salary. But in GPP, certainly in play. Bradley Beal's got a tough matchup versus Levine, but he's certainly still in play considering his minutes and usage. I like him for GPPs. Possibly for cash games. You got to do a little more research, but maybe. I think Porter is in a tough matchup here versus Wiggins. Wiggins is one of the better defenders on Minnesota. I think he'll be on Porter for most of the game, because I think that Levine is also a pretty solid defender and should be able to stick to Bradley Beal for most of the game. Markieff Morris is in an interesting spot. GPP only. I think the problem with Morris is he's inconsistent because his shot may not fall. If his shot is falling, I don't think Gorgie Dang will be able to get out there if he's hitting threes or if he's hitting outside shots. But if he's not, I don't see him being able to outpower Dang, so don't know if I like Marquise too much. Definitely don't like him in cash, but in GPPs, you could have a couple. He's cheap enough to take a chance on. Gortat's in a good spot here. I definitely think he's cash game playable. I'm not really afraid of Karl Anthony Towns' defense, and at 6,500, if you look at his game logs of what he's been doing with Mahamini out, he's been playing mega minutes. He's played over 40 minutes in 4 out of the last 5 contests. And he's been over 30 in 4 out of the last 5 contests. Just under 40 in 3 of the last 5 contests. So I think Marcin Gortat, while he may not have that 50-point upside, well, he's done it before. We've seen him do it before, and that was against the Spurs. So he's got that upside. I shouldn't say he doesn't. He doesn't show it as often, I could say that. But I do like him in cash games for sure. He might be my center tonight. I only do one cash lineup. We'll see what I do. But as of right now, I like him. On the Minnesota side, Rubio is an interesting GPP play. I wouldn't put him in cash. He's cheap enough. It's just he's been inconsistent. He's been playing a lot more minutes lately, which is great. If you think he's going to get those minutes, he could be cash game playable. I'm not worried about Wall's defense. But they're on the road here. They're underdogs, and there's a couple of the guys that they may use for production. So he's in play, but I don't love him. Levine is interesting. I like him in cash. I think Beal is not a great defender, so I think Levine's okay. Only problem with Levine is I think he'll be mega chalky. Wiggins screwed everybody last time he played, including myself, if you remember the Andrew Wiggins hangover I told you about. Levine is the one who came through, so I can see everybody going back to Levine now and fading Wiggins, so I think Levine's going to be mega chalky for GPP, so I won't play him in GPPs, but in cash, I think he's pretty solid. Speaking of Andrew Wiggins, he's got a tougher matchup versus Porter, and I think people are going to be off of him. But this might be the spot to take him. GPPs only, in my opinion, although his price is appealing for cash. He does play the minutes. As a matter of fact, I think I do like him in cash. I mean, I don't know. He might not be – people might disagree with me there, but I think after he dudded everybody, people might be off. But that could be a mistake because he still gets mega minutes, and he doesn't have those dud games very often. And when I say dud, I mean his upside is iffy, but you expect him to hit 30. He doesn't usually do under 30 twice in a row. He did this time, 28.5, 16.5. I don't think it's going to happen again. He gets monster minutes. So I think that he's well rested too. So I like Wiggins here in all formats. I would probably prefer Wiggins over Levine in GPPs 100% because I think Levine's going to be chalk. But we'll see how everything plays out. I haven't really looked at everything yet. So anyway, Dang I think is a solid cash play. I'm not afraid of Markieff Morris as far as rebounds and things like that. So I think he's a solid play. If you look at what he's done lately, one with, Thibodeau's going to play his starters. He's going to play them a lot. And we've seen his last game against Philly, 27 minutes. Before that, 38, 34, 39, 35. He's been over 20 5 games in a row. So I definitely like him in cash games today. I don't know if he's my favorite play yet, but definitely like him in cash. So if you like this game, you want some exposure in cash, he's definitely an option. He's probably my favorite cash option out of the Minnesota Timberwolves team. The only other guy, obviously, in play is Karl-Anthony Towns at 9,400. He's got a matchup against Gortat, which I don't think is necessarily too bad. But let me check here. Yeah, a pretty good matchup, actually. Washington struggled against centers. And Gortat's all they got. So if he gets tired, the young Karl-Anthony Towns could really step it up. So he's got the upside. He's been playing well lately. He is on the road, but I do like Towns. My biggest problem with Towns is the Timberwolves shown they do have scoring options. Pretty much everybody on their starting 5 can score. I think Deng is their worst scorer, but Levine, Wiggins, and Rubio have all shown they can put up some serious points. So that's what scares me about Towns a little bit. But he's still, man, I mean, the guy is so good. He's just so good, Karl-Anthony Towns. He's so young, so good. So to me, GPPs only. I don't want to pay 9,400 for him in a cash game. That scares me. But in GPPs, definitely in play. I could see somebody doing a Wall and Towns type stack, and so definitely like Towns. Moving on, we've got, what's the next game here? Oh, Houston at Orlando. Total of 222, which is extremely high for an Orlando Magic game. Houston is favored by 5.5 on the road. Capella's obviously still out. Harden's in play. Oh, we don't know about Beverly. Let's check the status on Beverly. He played last night, but he does have a bad wrist, so let's see. Harden is certainly in play. I think it's a tougher spot for him coming off a big emotional game, even though he didn't play well. I don't know. I wonder if people will be off him. Orlando's typically a team people don't like to target against. There's a perception that Orlando's a good defensive team when I think it's more so that they're a slow-paced team, so there's just less possessions to go around for opponents. But Harden is interesting. The total indicates that this should be a high-scoring Rockets kind of contest. The Rockets are favored, so I definitely think Harden's in play here, especially if his ownership's going to be lower than yesterday. If people are going to be off because they felt like they were disappointed yesterday, I definitely like Harden here. Patrick Beverly, if he does play, I do like him. I like him more if Elf is starting, but we'll talk about that. Only thing, keep in mind when Harden, Fournier is back. Now, last time Fournier came off the bench, if Fournier starts, he's actually a decent defender. I'm not really worried about him shutting down Harden. But if he's out of the starting lineup, Harden's matchup gets even better. So just going to throw that out there. Eric Gordon's in play. You know, a lot of people don't like to take him, but he consistently, for the most, I mean, let me just double check. Let me double check before I even really say it. But he's 5,800 on FanDuel. Eric Gordon, I mean, you want to talk about a cash game play for 5,800. I do wish he was a little cheaper than he was earlier, but the guy scores. I mean, wow. If you look at this, he's had one game since November 19th under 20 points. And most of his games are above 25. So, if you want to talk about a cash game play, I do like Gordon. My concern is that if Fournier plays and comes off the bench, Fournier will probably cover Gordon if Harden's off the court. So that worries me a bit. Then again, Harden don't leave the court very much. So, but I like Gordon. I think he's typically a good cash game play. You definitely want to take a look and see if you can figure out how this game's going to go. But certainly in play. And he's never really that highly owned because he comes off the bench. You know, people don't like to play bench guys. I understand it. I think Ariza's in a pretty good matchup. And I also like his price. So we have a larger slate, so we have some options. But small forward so far hasn't really impressed me as far as what's out there. But Ariza's only 5,900. He had a dud against Oklahoma City with 19.1. But before that, he scored over 30 FanDuel points in 3 straight games. So I do like him here. Let me see. I think he'll match up with Jeff Green and Aaron Gordon. Jeff Green traditionally used to be a decent defender, but I'm not too worried about it. I don't think Ariza has that upside you're looking for, but at 5,900, I think he could be in play for cash. It's a high total, so he's going to get a piece. The total's not, the spread's not too high, so the game should stay close for the most part, I think. But he's interesting. Ryan Anderson, of course, is in play. Ibaka's been playing a lot lately. I don't know if he's fatigued or whatever the case is. They just got done playing a 3 and 4, so he was off just one day, so. If he might be a little tired. His production has slowed down, and obviously with Fournier back, his production goes down, although Fournier may not start. So Ryan Anderson, my point with Ryan Anderson is I don't know if Ibaka's going to be able to chase him around. So Anderson might get some open looks in this game, so he's interesting. At 5,500, I don't like putting this guy in cash. He's had back-to-back 18-point games, and that's why I don't like putting him in cash. I think he's too volatile, but he's got the upside for GPPs at 5,500, so he's in play. Also, Harrell is worth mentioning. Orlando, believe it or not, is one of the worst teams at defending the center position. Harrell came off the bench, I think, yesterday. So it's interesting to see what he does today. If he's going to get the minutes, he's still playing, coming off the bench or not. Even coming off the bench, he still played 29 against Oklahoma City. So I definitely think Harrell's in play at 5,000. May consider him a cash play, but I don't know. I might like Gortat better, even though Gortat's $1,500 more. Harrell has shown a little bit of inconsistency. After putting up that 41 against the Clippers, he's failed to break 33 games in a row and barely broke 22 out of the 3. So I do like him, but I don't love him. But he's definitely in a good spot. So consider him. Definitely consider him. On the Orlando side, if Elf comes off the bench, I think I like him a little more. If Elf comes off the bench, then Fournier will start. So it's interesting to see what happens here. Basically, if Fournier is starting, I think they'll start Augustine because Elf and Fournier are both kind of, they kind of like they're good scoring options and they don't seem to do as well together on the court, which is why Elf went to the bench in the first place. But since Fournier's been hurt, Elf has been playing a lot more, so Fournier might. I like Elf. I like him if he comes off the bench. Now, this is all considering if Beverly plays. The problem with this game is there's too many questions. If Beverly plays, I want Elf off the bench. I don't want to take him against Beverly. If Beverly is out and Elf starts, Elf is fine. But if Beverly is playing, I'd rather have Elf off the bench. Fournier, I'd rather have Fournier if he starts. Actually, to be honest, forget it. I'm not even gonna. They're both in play. I think they're both interesting here. I don't want Elf if he's going to be matched up with Beverly all night. But if Beverly's out for any reason, I love Elf. If Beverly's out, I like Elf a lot. And Fournier's in play either way. If he gets the minutes. You don't know. He's back from injury, and they didn't play him too much last time. So if he gets the minutes, he's in play. Aaron Gordon, nothing really appeals me here. With Fournier back, especially if Fournier starts, his usage goes way down. If Fournier is out, his usage should stay up there. But I like Gordon. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think I'm crazy about him in this spot. Ibaka's in a pretty good spot. Depends on if Fournier starts or not. Again, if Fournier starts, his usage goes down. So if Fournier is out, Ibaka he should be able to muscle Ryan Anderson around a little bit. But I'm not crazy about Ibaka. The only thing I like is he's a decent rebounder. He gets peripherals, and it's a high total game that should be that he's in a paced up spot for. So Ibaka's interesting. I think he's interesting. Vooch is in play. He's just he's pretty good at scoring. So 6,900. I don't know if I want him, but he does have upside, and he's playing in a fast-paced game and with a high total. So you got to consider him. I don't know what they'll do. I don't know if they'll, if Houston tries to go small. I don't know. That might not be good for him, but if the Magic can set the tone, then they can force Houston to try to go bigger. So we'll see what happens there. We're going to move on, though, and we are going to talk about the next game, which is Philly at Boston. I think the total is about 213. Boston is currently favored by 12.5 to 13. Embiid is questionable, and this line makes me think he might not play. Sergio and Henderson are both probable. So if Sergio plays, TJ McConnell goes back to the bench. And I think Holmes is expected to miss. And Zeller's questionable for the Celtics. So I think Sergio's in a great matchup here. I'm obviously concerned that if Embiid doesn't play, this game may not stay close because Philly doesn't have the scores capable of keeping up, in my opinion. But if Embiid does play, I think this game could stay a little bit more competitive than what the line indicates. And if it does, I definitely like Sergio. He's only 4,700. Isaiah Thomas, I love targeting point guards against Isaiah Thomas. I say that every time. Um, and he's very cheap. So I like Sergio. I like him in cash. But if I think this game will stay close, whether Embiid plays or not, you're going to have to do some research and decide if you think it'll be close. But I think Sergio is in play for cash at his price. Ilyasova's in a great spot, whether Embiid plays or not. If Embiid doesn't play, they're gonna heavily rely on Illy. So if Embiid don't play, look for Illy to take over as a scoring threat. Boston struggles at defending power forwards. Horford is obviously going to be covered and covering the big man, and I think that Embiid, Okafor, Noel, and I think that Illy will get to go up with like Amir Johnson, who Amir's been playing better, but I don't think he'll be able to keep up with Illy's threes. So if Illy's hitting the threes, he's in a great spot. If Embiid plays, he's in play. I would say GPP only because he's sick. You don't know that the sickness is really like, you see what it's doing to these other players. So, just be aware there. But Embiid's always in play. I like him, but I'm not crazy about him. If Embiid is out, Noel is interesting. Just not enough playing time overall. If Embiid plays, especially. But if Embiid is out, they will use Noel a little bit. And he's interesting. 4,300 is cheap, but just his minutes is so bad. But he did play 20 minutes last time Embiid sat, I think. So not a guy I'll be targeting. But anyway, moving on to the Boston side, Isaiah Thomas is in a great spot, but he's coming off a monster game, so I think I'm going to be off. I'd rather take a guy like Bradley. I think Bradley's in an even better spot, better matchup. I don't see who's going to cover him, Stauskas or Hollis Thompson, whatever, or was it? Whoever it is. I don't see who's going to stop him. So I like Bradley here. I think Crowder's in a great spot. He's got a little bit of narrative. I think he was upset by the Boston fans, and this is a home game. He was upset because I heard that they were cheering for Gordon Hayward, I think, because they want Hayward. I guess they want Hayward. I guess there were rumors about him, and Crowder took that as he took it hard because that's his position. If Hayward comes here, that means Crowder's either gone or on the bench. So Crowder wasn't happy with that. And I think the crowd's going to give him an ovation because they feel a little bad. I would hope so. They might not, but I would hope so. So I think either way, Crowder's in a good spot. He's going up against, what's his name, Covington. I'm not afraid of Covington. So I like Crowder here. Amir Johnson's interesting for cash games. He's been playing a lot better, and I never thought I would say that at the beginning of the season, but he's 4,000, so he's very cheap. And he's broken 20 a couple times, 18, so I'm not going to go there, but you can't rule him out completely, I guess. If you want to do that, I don't like to rule guys out. I'm a GPP guy, so I don't like to rule those guys out, but I'm not going to go there. Next game, New York at Milwaukee. Porzingis is questionable. Dellavedova's questionable, and there's no total because we're waiting to see, or spread because we're waiting to see what happens with Porzingis. I don't think Dellavedova is going to matter too much, but Porzingis is the big question. It's a rematch. The Knicks are going to want some revenge. I thought I saw somewhere the line actually. Is the line up? Let me check. Is that line up there? Okay, it is. Milwaukee is favored by 6, which makes me think maybe Porzingis won't play. But I think he should. I don't know because I heard Porzingis practice in full yesterday, which would make me think he is playing. Maybe because they're home and they just beat New York, that's why the line is 6. But that line seems high because, that game barely went through. And if you ask Carmelo, that last shot Giannis hit shouldn't have counted. Had something about the 5-second with your back to the rim or something like that. Didn't know about that rule before, but apparently that's a rule, and Giannis apparently broke it. So, just a bitter Knick fan. Anyway, so the total is 213.5, and the line is Milwaukee by 6. That's interesting. If Porzingis plays, I love Porzingis. If Porzingis plays, I don't see who stops him. I don't think Monroe stops him. I don't think Jabari's not stopping him. Jabari's not a good defender. They're gonna have to put Giannis on, I would think, Melo. Melo had a great game against him last time. I don't think they're gonna let Melo go. So if Porzingis plays, I love Porzingis here. I don't know about Cash just because of his inconsistency, and there are other guys around his price that I might like more. I don't know for sure yet, but I might. Like Draymond Green, for instance, Julius Randle, Kevin Love's playing today. So there's a couple, there's some options. But I like Porzingis a lot today. So if he plays, we'll see. If Deli's out again, I like Rose. Rose disappointed me last time in this matchup, and he was at home, so that stunk. But he's playing against the rookie, and I think that as a smart veteran, I would assume he would learn from last time and learn some tendencies because Brogdon actually had a good game against him. And if Dellavedova's out, Brogdon's going to play again. But Melo, I think it's a Melo fade spot. Melo had a monster game. Everybody's going to think he's going to do it again. If Porzingis is out, you may have to take Melo if you want this game, if you want a nick, just because when Porzingis is out, his usage goes up crazy. But if Porzingis is playing especially, big fade on Melo. I think people are going to be chasing him. Small forward has options, but the options aren't, there's no obvious option except for Melo. Melo just played this team. He dominated. So if Porzingis is out, whether Porzingis is in or out, I think he'll be chalky. But if Porzingis is out, I think he's going to be bad chalk. 100% think if Porzingis plays, Melo is bad chalk tonight. Joakim Noah, same thing could be said about him. He did okay for me. I was comfortable with what he did last time at his price. He was 4,900. We've seen a slight increase in price, which is annoying. But if Porzingis plays, I'm way away from Noah. Honestly, I'm not going to be on Noah anyway. I think there's too many other options. I don't want Monroe or Noah if Porzingis plays. Porzingis can clog up the middle. He can hit three. More importantly, with Noah, the reason I like Noah last time in this matchup is because Porzingis was out, which meant he would continue to get these monster rebounds. But when Porzingis plays, he's not a lock to get double-digit rebounds. And he's not a scorer. So if he doesn't get those double-digit rebounds, you're not getting much from Noah. So at a price increase, if Porzingis plays, I'm way off of Noah. If Porzingis plays, I don't want any piece of Noah. On the Milwaukee side, obviously Giannis is Giannis, so the Knicks weren't able to really contain him. Although he didn't go off as much as I thought he would. That kind of makes me like him even more a little bit. He got 53.6, so he had a good game, but I thought he'd put up 70 against the Knicks, but he didn't. So he's at home this time, so I like Giannis again. But if Porzingis plays, I like Jabari even more. Porzingis is not a very good defender. He gets a lot of blocks and all that, but Jabari can move around. He's very quick. He's shorter, but I think Jabari can. I think he could do well against Porzingis. He didn't do that great in New York, but I think at home, in a matchup versus Porzingis, I think he could do pretty well. So I like Jabari. He's had 2 games under 30, so I think he'll go under the radar. I don't know if you could put him in cash because he's capable at 7,000 of putting up a 25-point game. But in GPPs, I love Jabari. I might put him in cash. We'll see. But I like Jabari definitely. So we talked about Giannis, Jabari. Brogdon's in play if Deli's out. Obviously, I'm not too crazy about him, but certainly in play. And if Porzingis is out, Monroe is in play again. Monroe had a monster game against the Knicks last time. But if Porzingis is in, he can help clog it up down low. So if Porzingis plays, I'm off Monroe completely. If Porzingis is out, I think he's in play as a punt option yet again. Although at 5,500, you might be able to find a better punt option. Next game we have Miami at the Lakers. There wasn't a total at the time of this game. It looks like there is now. Let me check here. 210 is the total and a spread of 3.5. Whiteside is doubtful. Lakers minus 3.5, I should say. Whiteside is doubtful. And Winslow's out for the season with a labrum surgery. I've had 2 of those on the same shoulder, my left shoulder. I was a pitcher. I was a pro wrestler. I've had a few accidents, so my shoulders have been through it. I've had 2 torn labrums, had them both surgically repaired, and that's a tough surgery. Gravity kind of goes against you. Your arm just dangles. So when you have a torn labrum, you have no stability in your arm. The labrum wraps around the shoulder bone, which keeps your stability. It keeps the bone in the socket. The labrum wraps around the socket, I should say, and that's what keeps the bone in the socket. So if your labrum's torn, you have no stabilization in there. So you definitely got to get the surgery done if you're trying to play a sport like basketball. I guarantee you every time he blocks a shot or every time he reaches his arm up in the air, it hurts, any kind of pressure. Like even now after my second surgery, and my surgery was in March, so it's been a while. If I play basketball, it's fine now. But if I block somebody's shot, oh my gosh, the pain that I feel shooting up and down my left arm. So that's not a good motion. Anything overhead is usually pretty bad for the labrum. Anyway, that was a little off topic. Sorry about that. What else? What other injuries? McRoberts is still out. Deng is questionable. He missed yesterday. We'll see if he plays. And Nance, of course, is out. I think Dragic is a great cash game spot. The Lakers struggle against point guards. Whiteside's out, so Dragic's usage stays up. So I definitely like Dragic here. Richardson, I think, is still in play because even though Waiters is back, he's obviously playing very limited minutes. You're taking it very easy with him. So I think Richardson is still kind of in play. Although I don't like targeting shooting guards against the Lakers too much. Neck-tat, James Johnson, definitely in play. I love him in this spot. They need him so much now, especially with Winslow out permanently. He's kind of been solidified as one of their guys, one of their main guys. Whether he starts or comes off the second unit, he's going to dominate. So I love James Johnson. He's broke 30 in his last 3 games that he played in. He didn't play against Phoenix, so it says 0. But the 2 games before that and the one after, over 30. He's only 5,500. He's playing some pretty good minutes. He was sick against Sacramento. He played anyway, but he only played 25. Still got 33 points. So I think especially if they give him 30 here, which they could after a day off, maybe he's feeling a little better. Love James Johnson today in all formats because of his price. Let me see. The only other Heat guy I like is Willie Reed. He's got the upside. He showed it to us. Lakers are bad against bigs. So it'll be an up-paced game, which he put up 51.6 against Phoenix in another fast-paced game. So I like Willie Reed here. 4,100 is a great punt option. To me, he's GPP only because he's capable of playing terrible. We've seen him put up 11.4 against Detroit, and that was in a good matchup against Drummond. And then 14.6 against Boogie. So I definitely like Willie Reed for GPPs, but probably only for GPPs. I don't think I trust him in cash. Who else do we got? I think that's it for Miami. Now we're gonna look at the Lakers. I think that now for the Lakers, I don't know. I was having a hard time liking any of these guys. I don't really like Russell against Dragic. They're playing on the back end of a back-to-back. I don't like Russell against Dragic. Maybe Lou Williams for the second unit because they're so depleted. Maybe Lou Williams, 4,900, but GPP only, of course. You don't know how many minutes he's going to get these days now that everybody's pretty healthy guard-wise. So maybe for GPPs, he doesn't really have the upside anymore. I think I'd rather wait for his price to go lower. Nick Young could be cash game playable. He gets the minutes, so he could be 4,700. But again, I'm not too crazy about it. And if Dang plays, he's an option. I think if Dang plays, he's usually been pretty safe, but lately he hasn't been. So I'm not crazy about Dang. He's a game time decision. If he doesn't play, Ingram is cheap enough to where you can throw him in a cash game if there's some guys you really want, but he has no upside really. So I'm not crazy about him. Julius Randle's probably the only guy I like in this game. And he plays monster minutes. He's really their only... They rely on him for a big man, so I could see maybe him and Neck-tat going at it for a little while. So I like Randle. I wouldn't mind doing him, like maybe a correlation of him and James Johnson and Dragic in there, but I like Randle. He's the only guy I like from the Lakers. I don't know if I love him, but from the Lakers, he's the only guy I like. So we'll see about that. Not crazy about any of their centers, not even Tyreek Black. Even though he's dirt cheap, he just doesn't get the minutes. We're going to move on here to... What is it? Memphis at Golden State. Total is 216. Golden State is favored by 13. JaMychal Green is questionable. We're still waiting to see what happens to him. I think this game is interesting GPP-wise. I think a lot of people are going to ignore this game because they think it'll be a blowout, and it might be. But I think that they can keep it close enough in the beginning at least. I think I like Connolly in this game. I know I like Connolly. GPP only because, again, you don't know what he's going to do. His minutes have been there lately. He played 36, 32 in his last 2, and that was a back-to-back. So I like Connolly in this spot a lot. Curry is not known as a great defender, so give me some Connolly. GPP's only again. Tony Allen's interesting, but only as a punt. I wouldn't go there unless you really need to. Zebo is in play if Green is out. So keep that in mind. If JaMychal Green is out, Zebo is in play. I don't know if I'm crazy about it because Draymond Green will be going at it with him for the most part. But I think he's still in play. You got to consider him. You still got to consider him. Gasol is he's interesting. 8,500. Don't know if I want to go there with Zaza because Golden State has actually been pretty good against centers. But Gasol... you got to think they have to use him if they want to stay in this game. They're going to have to use a lot of him and Conley. Then again, if Green's out, they could use more Zebo and Conley. So at 8,500, he's definitely taking a chance. I don't think you have to go there. I don't think you got to pay up that high for him. I do think he'll be very low owned. So as a GPP dart, I think he's definitely an option. Just because if you think about it, if you're gonna pay up that high, why not go up to Towns at 94 or Cousins at 11, or just go down to Brolo at 75 or DeAndre Jordan at 75? You can even take Horford at 74 if Embiid's out. So I think Gasol will definitely be low owned, and in a bad matchup. So still in play. The thing is about Gasol, Zaza's a good rim defender, but Gasol can hit threes now, so he could still find a way to get there. If he's hitting his outside shots, he could still find a way to get there. So Gasol's definitely in play. I wouldn't put him in cash, but in GPP, he's definitely in play. I may have just talked myself onto him a little bit more. Not going to have a lot of exposure, but I may have one lineup out there with him. Moving on, we have the Clippers at the Kings. So the Clippers at Sacramento. There wasn't a line at the time I was writing this. It looks like there is now. It looks like Sacramento -1. Let me check what the total is. Total of 207 from what I see. So, I think Redick's in a monster spot here. He's got some narrative, and also Sacramento's horrible against shooting guards. So I really like, especially with Gay out, I really like Redick in this game. I think people are going to be on Felton and Rivers, especially Rivers after the game he had last time. But if you noticed, they have a hard time being consistent. And I think this is a tremendous, tremendous spot for Redick. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to Redick. I'm going to have him in cash and GPPs. He gets the minutes where he's safe enough for me for minutes, and I think if he has a little narrative, his upside is enough for his price. He's pretty cheap today. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you how much he is. I'm going to look him back up. I forgot what it was. 4,400. So the same price as Kilpatrick last night. If he can do what Kilpatrick did last night, that's good enough for me. So I definitely like Redick here. Jordan's in a... See, he's in a tough matchup against Boogie, but they are going to need him. That's the thing. He's going to get minutes because they're going to need him on the court. They're going to need him defending against Boogie. So he's in play. Can't rule him out. Those are probably the only two guys I really like. You could try a Rivers. You could try a Felton, but I'm not too crazy about them. I'd rather play Redick and be done with the Clippers. On Sacramento, Collison's been playing very well. I don't know what got into him, but he's been playing extremely well lately. He's only 4,400. He's extremely cheap in his matchup. If Paul doesn't play, Paul is doubtful. If Paul don't play, you're getting quite the bargain. As a matter of fact, in cash games, I think I found my cash game point guard right now. His minutes have been higher, although he's coming off 27. That was against Dragic. He got 17.9. His matchup gets a lot better against Felton and Rivers. And against Denver, he just put up 38.9. So he's shown that upside that everybody's been waiting for. A lot of the sharper players have been waiting for him to do it, and he finally did it. I think he's capable of doing it again at 4,400. I don't see how you can go wrong. He's priced as if he's playing Chris Paul, but he's not. I'm almost positive that Chris Paul has been downgraded to doubtful. Yeah, he's doubtful. So give me the Collison and Redick from this game. Those are the two guys I want in cash. And well, I'll even throw them in GPPs, but really I want them in cash. The only other king that I'm really interested in, you could take a shot with Barnes and GPPs, but I'm not interested to go there. I think where I want to go is Boogie. That's the only other place I would want to go. His price came down after that dud he had the other night. I mean, the worst Boogie game I ever watched. And maybe he has worse in his career, but that was the worst one that I ever watched. I'm on the East Coast. I don't see a lot of Kings games. I was able to watch this game, and it was horrible. I mean, he was horrible. 29.2 FanDuel points, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Horrible. That might deter people from him, especially in a matchup with DeAndre Jordan. But, I mean, Cousins is Cousins, man. It's Boogie. So if Boogie's going to be low owned, you might want to hop on him. 11,000, his price did come down. He's still expensive, but his price did come down. But Boogie's the only other guy that I'd be interested in on the Kings. So for me, from this whole game, I want Redick, maybe Jordan, but definitely Redick, and Collison and maybe Boogie. Don't know for sure if I want to put Boogie in cash. But you're saving us quite a bit right there. Redick and Collison are both 4,400 on FanDuel, and I think they're safe to start your cash games with. That's going to do it for me here on the NBA podcast. If you like it, please subscribe. If you're listening on Podbean, follow us there. If you're listening on iTunes, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. You can reach me on Twitter at CK_013. That's at CK_013. If you're not a member at WiseTake.com, please sign up. WiseTake.com. Free membership. We have some free tools for you to use, our projections, our cheat sheets, etc. That's pretty much it for me. If you want to get a hold of me, I just told you how, so don't forget that. But anyway, good luck.
Yes.